Welcome to Notable Approvals. I am attorney Amanda Shaffer. Before we begin, I have a new background today. Well, actually, a new location I'm filming from. I was trying to get in both pictures. If you're watching on Instagram, you're going to have a clearer picture, but let me step out of the frame so you can see. I think you'll get the lighting a bit better there. All right, that is the Empire State Building. I thought that would be a cool image to show, but the gray clouds and my camera on the computer do not like one another. So if you follow us on Instagram at the Shapiro Lawyers, the Shapiro Lawyers, then you can see the Empire State Building a little bit more clearly. Anyways, so today I'm very excited to talk about this case. Before I get to that case, quick reminder to make sure you like us and follow us on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram so you could actually see the cool view, and you don't miss any more of our live videos. If you find this video to be helpful or know somebody who may find it helpful, please make sure to hit that share button so that they can watch it as well. So our case today is about a client who is a native and citizen of Honduras. A native of Honduras. Still a citizen, I think. But anyways, I first spoke to him in December. And when he called me, he said that he's been trying for many years to get his citizenship. He was told by different lawyers that some lawyers told him he was a U.S. citizen, some lawyers told him he wasn't a U.S. citizen, and he had applied at a U.S. consulate or embassy in Honduras unsuccessfully a couple of times, and he saw one of my videos about the N600, which is the application for the certificate of citizenship for people who automatically acquire citizenship at a certain point. And I'll explain what that means in a second. And he thought that based on that video that he was in fact eligible. And after I spoke with him and I asked him all the questions, I said, you are eligible. Let's do it. But we had one problem. He's not in the US, and you can't file an N600 if you're not in the US. So, well, then what do you do? Because he didn't have a certificate of citizenship. He didn't have a certificate of naturalization. He never had a U.S. passport. He wasn't a consular birth abroad, so he didn't have one of those. And he didn't have a U.S. birth certificate, obviously, because he wasn't born in the U.S. So I'll go through what we did in a second. But basically, I told the client, this is a very interesting issue, but the thing is with automatic citizenship is I'm going to explain what these conditions are. But once you meet all of these conditions, after you complete the last one, it's automatic. You're a citizen. It's not like you have to wait even to take an oath ceremony. You're a citizen. So let's go over first what these requirements are. In order to automatically acquire citizenship under the Immigration and Nationality Act, the first thing to know is it's not that simple. It actually depends on the year that you were born, what the law was in place the year you were born. There's also could be the law in place before you turn the age of 18. It kind of depends. Now, this client, because of when he was born, the law that applied to him is the most recent law. That one's a little bit easier because we just deal with it a little more frequently, but they changed the law a little bit to be really with regards to male-female custody with the parents type of thing. Anyways, so in order to acquire citizenship, and this is the most recent act, I think if you were born after 1972, some date in 1972, you have to have one parent who's a U.S. citizen. So you're born outside the U.S., one parent's a U.S. citizen. They're your biological parent. You have to be lawfully admitted to the U.S. as a permanent resident. You have to be living in the U.S. in the legal and physical custody of your U.S. citizen parent. You can complete those 4 conditions in any order, but once that final condition is met, if you are under the age of 18, you are a U.S. citizen. So this was an interesting case because this client, he had his father naturalized, so he was a U.S. citizen, and his father filed a Form I-130 for him and his mother, and they came to the U.S. They entered as green card holders. He then went and lived with his mother and his father in the U.S. And a year or so later, he left the U.S., went back to Honduras, and he's been there ever since. So what that means is he has an expired green card, and even if the green card was valid, he's been outside the U.S. for more than a year. So it would have most likely they would have considered his permanent residence abandoned. So any option of coming back in as a permanent resident was kind of off the table. So we've definitely done these situations where people are already in the U.S. and we apply for their N600, and that's the norm. But what do you do if you can't apply for it and you're outside the U.S., but you can't come back in the U.S. in order to apply for it? And this is what we did. So what we ended up doing was filling out a passport application, a U.S. passport application, and we provided all of the evidence that we would normally provide for the N600. So his dad's naturalization certificate, parents' marriage certificate. I think the dad was married before, so the divorce certificate, because we had to show the physical and legal custody issue. So he did attend school in the U.S., so that was easy. He also was listed as a dependent on his father's taxes, so we were able to show that. We had to show that he entered with his green card. So basically, he entered on an immigrant visa as the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen. We had the stamp, and then we had a copy of his green card. We put that all together in a nice little evidence package, and on top of it, I placed a cover letter explaining to the officer, this is the law, INA Section 320. He is eligible because he completed all these conditions. These requirements before he turned 18. Here is all the evidence that proves each of the elements required. I then sent this whole package once he had his interview, because Honduras, the embassy was closed for a little because of COVID. Once he had the interview, I sent the package to the embassy. And one thing we found out is that the embassy he had been going to, actually think he was going to a consulate, which is a difference. Usually the embassies are like the main headquarters in the country, and consulate are like smaller offices, so they don't deal with all the same issues. So the consulate he was going to, which was closer to where he lived, had no idea what he's talking about. They kept telling him to do an N600, get him a certificate of citizenship. And that's why when he applied a couple of times, he was unsuccessful. But what I did was I did some research, and I was like, well, they don't process those there, so that's why they don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you can get a U.S. passport, but it doesn't mean every situation. They have limited U.S. Citizen services. So when he went to the other U.S. embassy, it was almost immediate. They knew exactly what he was talking about, what he was doing. And he was very excited to tell me that it was a very quick interview. It was granted. He said, oh, the guy barely looked at the evidence. Did you send it in advance? And I couldn't even remember. I had to go look back at my emails, and then I remembered after. I was like, oh, right when he told me about the interview, I had sent it. So they had seen it already, but I didn't, you don't know if they're going to look at it or not. It's still a good idea to send it in advance. I made sure he had a copy of everything, and I told him, you know that you're a U.S. citizen. I know, this is exciting. And then we didn't want to, until he got the U.S. passport, we didn't want to be too excited. It took about 10 days to 2 weeks to get it. And he has a U.S. passport. He's a U.S. citizen, and he's excited to come back to the U.S., start his life here, and apply. He has a wife and some kids that he cannot wait to bring to the U.S. with him and see his family that he hasn't seen in a while. And it was a really interesting case that I was excited to be able to do. And this client in particular, I know he's watching. He's the first thing he said to me is that he can't wait for me to make a video about his case one day. And I'm happy I told him from day one, I will be making one about your case because I know I'm right. I know you're getting your citizenship. And he was understandably nervous because he has been given so much wrong information and had been trying for so long unsuccessfully. But we know what we're talking about over here, and we'll know very quickly, even though it's complicated, we'll still know whether you're eligible or not. And if we don't know, we're going to tell you we don't know. But these situations we do know. We're more than happy to help if you have something similar. But remember, one of the benefits to using a lawyer, among the many benefits, is that we're going to make sure it's all done the right way, and not just like the evidence and filling out the application and making you feel more comfortable for the interview, but this came down to probably a question of filing location. That it was, maybe if he had tried at the other place, it would have worked. Maybe not. Maybe it was the way that I explained it all. We don't exactly know. What we do know is that he is now a U.S. citizen. That's all that matters. And that I knew from the first day we talked to him that one day I would be making this video. I was trying to, if you're watching on Instagram, you could see the better view. So again, at the Shapiro Lawyers, you should check it out. I got as American a view as you can right here. I guess the Statue of Liberty would be slightly better. You're very welcome, Felipe. So thank you all for watching. If you found this video helpful or know someone who has a similar situation, click on that share button. Tell them to give us a call. Give us a call yourself. Make sure to like us, follow us, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, so that you don't miss any more of our lives. You can watch this on repeat as well. But congratulations to our client out there. I know you're watching, and I know you're really excited, and I'm really excited to you. I wish you were in the US so I can give you a hug. But when you get here, I'm going to get that hug. And we can't wait to bring your family here as well. So that is all today for Notable Approvals. Thank you all for watching, and have a good day.